You're listening to Chapter 2 of The Day the Evacuation Order Went Up, Aiko's 6 days before camp. This episode is part of Stories from Camp, a continuing series of Japanese-American narratives told as quiet, nighttime historical dramas for nighttime sleeping and learning. Listen to our other chapters and full-length stories on our YouTube and podcast channels. Now, to continue our story. Chapter 2. Circles of Whispering. Aiko left the shop after lunch, the bell giving a thin ring as she stepped back into the street. The light had shifted since the morning, sharper now, as if the sun wanted to expose every corner of Little Tokyo. She carried 2 empty baskets meant for errands, though the gesture felt hollow. The neighborhood moved slower than usual, each person listening more than speaking. She walked past the dry goods store and noticed the clusters forming again. Women gathered in tight half-circles outside storefronts, shawls wrapped around their arms even in the warm air. Their voices stayed low, weaving through each other like threads drawn from the same uneasy spool. One woman held a copy of the notice already folded at the creases. Another repeated a line about the reporting station, her voice wavering as if the words tasted bitter. Aiko paused beside a crate of daikon set outside Kondo's market. She didn't join any of the circles, but she heard enough to understand the fear simmering beneath the whispers. Some women asked whether families with sick children would receive extra time. Others struggled to accept that the government wanted them to leave homes tended for decades. Every few seconds, a voice dropped even lower, as if speaking too loudly might summon something worse. Her eyes met those of Mrs. Mori, who taught sewing classes in the community hall. The older woman gave her a small nod, recognition mixed with sympathy, and Aiko returned it before moving on. She didn't know what to say to anyone, words felt fragile in a place already cracked along the edges. At the corner near the drugstore, more people crowded around another posted notice. The dialogue there carried a sharper tone. A young father leaned forward, tracing a finger down the page as if hoping to find a loophole. 2 boys on bicycles circled the crowd with wide, uneasy eyes, sensing the tension without understanding the details. Aiko watched a teenage girl step back from the pole, her face strained in a way that mirrored Aiko's own reflection that morning. She continued walking, the baskets bumping lightly against her leg. Every voice she passed seemed to land on her, adding layers of expectation she never agreed to carry. Some of the younger mothers looked to her with the silent assumption that the Nisei understood these things, that the American-born children had a clearer sense of what the government intended. As if citizenship functioned like a shield. As if her birth certificate could explain any of this. Aiko slowed near the corner where the bakery stood. The staff usually kept the door propped open to let the smell of fresh anpan drift down the block, but now they kept it closed. Through the window she saw the baker's wife counting envelopes with a tired, deliberate pace. Behind her, the shelves held fewer loaves than usual, and the room echoed faintly as if the air itself had thinned. Aiko tightened her grip on the empty baskets. She realized the notices had created something new in the neighborhood, a boundary drawn not by fences but by fear. People hesitated before greeting each other. Conversations stopped mid-sentence when someone unfamiliar approached. The fabric of trust, so constant it had once seemed invisible, now showed clear strain. She turned onto a quieter street where the traffic noise softened. This part of the neighborhood usually lifted her mood, with its rows of paper lanterns strung between barber shops and noodle houses. Today the lanterns hung still, untouched by any breeze. The stillness unsettled her more than the crowds. Aiko stopped outside the store where she bought school supplies every September. Inside, the owner stood alone behind the counter, staring at a stack of notebooks as if weighing their worth. The sight struck her with unexpected force. She remembered choosing her first ink pen there, her father waiting in line behind her with patient pride. Now the memory felt distant, almost borrowed, as though it belonged to someone else's life. She started walking again. The weight of the whispers settled around her, a steady pressure against her chest. She wasn't sure whether the responsibility placed on her generation came from the adults or from something deeper inside herself. She only knew she couldn't ignore it. When she reached the end of the block, she realized she had formed a silent promise, one she hadn't intended but couldn't deny. She would carry what she needed to carry. She would stay steady for as long as she could. Behind her, the circles of whispering continued, threading through the spring air like a quiet storm gathering its strength.
Thank you for listening to Chapter 2 of The Day the Evacuation Notice Went Up. This episode is part of Stories from Camp, a continuing series of Japanese-American narratives told as quiet, nighttime historical dramas. If you like this video, please subscribe, and listen to the next chapter or the whole story on our YouTube channel or your podcast player. If you'd like to hear more, you can explore the rest of the library on our channel. And if you're a storyteller or a creator who wants to collaborate with us, you can reach out anytime at redressradio.com.